it appears that I'm doing it all and I have it all together. But I didn't, Jess. I found myself feeling unfulfilled, feeling exhausted. And it really took me sitting down and saying to myself, like, this is really the plan that God has for you? You know, how you show up is important. You have to show up consistently no matter what space you're in. You know, showing up as the best version of yourself. You want to get it all, but just start somewhere, right? Because the small steps start to add up. Like, shout out to ET.
Yeah.
Right? Like, small steps, great distances.
Welcome to the Finally Healed with Jessica Lundy podcast, where we prioritize mental health, self-care, and embracing our healing journey together. Now, I need you to grab, listen, your coffee, your tea, get your pen, your paper. This episode is going to be so good. Now, I told you I was going to bring some of my special friends. I am so grateful to be able to call our next guest a friend. Listen, we have actually traveled the world together.
Facts.
Nicole Star Crumpler, aka Next Level Nic, is an extraordinary. She's a wife. She's a mother. And to be honest, her resume is so long that it would take the whole podcast for me to let you know everything that she has done. She is truly the definition of a woman boss. She has made so much headway in the corporate space, working for Fortune 500 corporations. Yep. And now she is the COO of Next Level Speakers Academy and Everything Jeremy Anderson Group. And when I tell you, she is the queen, with a capital Q, queen of systems. And it is my honor, it is my pleasure to invite her to the show. Welcome, Nicole.
Oh man, thank you, Jess. It is incredible to be here. I have been waiting, like for this moment ever since I got the invite. So trust me, I am just as excited to be here.
Yeah, it is an honor to have you because you are a multifaceted woman. And when I think about the women watching this podcast, they are having to do it all, right? And we're just trying to figure this thing called life out.
That's it.
And so when you think about your healing journey, right? We listed all of the accolades and the amazing things that you've been able to accomplish. But I imagine that healing had to be a part of the equation to be able to be where you are now. So what did that journey look like for you?
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned some of the things that I've done, right? Juggling, being a wife and a mom, and having a job in corporate, singing, dancing, playing basketball, just doing all the things, right? But outside looking in, you talked about it earlier. How did you coin it? This one is something about somebody that's got it all together. What was it, Jess? What was it? What's the title of this episode?
The system for the woman that can do it all.
Right. So systems for the woman that can do it all. So outside looking in, it appears that I'm doing it all and I have it all together. Yeah. But I didn't, Jess. You know what I mean? I didn't. I found myself feeling unfulfilled, feeling exhausted, right? And it really took me sitting down and saying to myself, like, Nick, you have all this stuff going on, but is this really the plan that God has for you? Yeah. Because in those moments, it didn't feel like a good plan. Yeah. It didn't. So getting to this place, shifting my focus and figuring out, what really mattered. That journey was a healing journey. Yeah. There were a lot of things that I had to adjust to kind of get to this person, that I am now. So I'm just excited to share that part of my journey. And hopefully, there are some nuggets, something that people can take away from this that really helps them. Yeah.
And how do we as women not feel guilty about taking that first step and putting ourselves first along the journey?
Yeah, for sure. I think it has to start with us. Shout out to Jeremy Anderson. He's coined this phrase, occupational integrity, right? Where it talks about, how you show up is important. Yeah. And, you have to show up consistently no matter what space you're in. So how you show up as a wife, how you show up as a mom, how you show up as a friend, showing up as the best version of yourself, that integrity is any hat that you're wearing. And that starts with first understanding who you are, having self-awareness. I think sometimes people walk around with a filter, but I don't know how honest that filter is, right? So really taking the time to know who you are, Jess. Like, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And being okay with that. We all have gaps. Shout out to my coach. I have plenty of coaches in every area of my life. But we have dark spots. We have blind spots. We have soft spots. But understanding what our vices are. Like, it's important to know yourself first before you can even start doing anything else. Yeah.
Let's unpack a couple of things. You just put a lot in there. Why is it vital for people? I have many coaches, many mentors, people in my life that support me and help guide me in the direction I need to go.
Yeah.
You say you have many coaches.
I do.
Why is that important to you? And then when did you realize, and I believe that's actually probably a system, right?
Yeah.
When did you realize this is a vital part of your success as an adult, right?
Absolutely. One way to guarantee success is having accountability, right? And coaches provide a layer of accountability. Yeah. So recently I had made a decision that I wanted to lose some weight, right? I'm just like, this is probably the heaviest I've been, even though I look like that.
Yeah, me too, right?
But it's just like, I want to get to a different stage, and I know I need some help to get there. So I got a coach, right? Because when James hits me every Monday and it's like, Nick, let me see your numbers, that accountability is going to keep me honest. Like, it's going to hold me to the fire, right? So any area of my life where I want to, be intentional about my success, I realize I can't do it by myself. We talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just having community, just having people who are there to support you, because it's not going to be perfect, Jess. Yeah. So accountability, having a coach in the areas where you want to succeed, for me, is crucial.
Yeah, it really is vital.
It is.
And I think sometimes people think you just need a coach for the specific areas that you want to improve in when it comes to business or it comes to finance. So like, for me as a speaking coach, people come to me and they're like, oh man, like I want to do this with my speaking business. I want to do this and this and this. And I'm like, no, let's actually work on your heart.
That's it.
Let's work on your mindset. Yeah. Let's work on your mentality. So I think it's important to have a coach in a variety of areas. Someone that's going to help you personally, but someone who's also going to help you professionally.
That's it.
Now, when you think about, everyone always says, I want to have it all, right? We all want to have it all, right? Do you think that is possible to, quote unquote, have it all? And if so, what needs to be in place to actually be able to achieve that goal?
You have to define all. I think all is too broad, it's too vague. Like, start by defining what all is, right? So that you can be intentional. Because if not, I feel like you could be all over the place, right? So I'll use myself as an example. So, think of New Year's, you have your resolution. You want to do this, and this. Like, I had my own list of things I wanted to achieve, things I wanted to accomplish. And it felt like a lot.
Yeah, overwhelming.
Right? So one, it's just like, you don't want to start a plan already feeling like, man, this is a lot. Yeah. And so I said to myself, you know what, Nick, instead of focusing on all of that and trying to do everything, I made up in my mind, Jess, that I was going to focus on one thing. Yeah. Because doing the reflection, doing the work, I realized if I focused on the one thing, right, that all the other things that I wanted would be added onto me, because my one focus was God. And I knew if I aligned with God, then he would help me find my purpose. And I wanted him to order my steps. Yeah. Right? So I think, one, getting clear on what you need to focus on so that you can build intentionality into the plan so that you can reach whatever your goal looks like, but make that goal small steps. Yeah. That's right? So because you don't want to feel the overwhelm. Like, yes, you want to get it all, but just start small, right? Because the small steps start to add up. Like, shout out to ET. Yeah. Right? Like, small steps, great distances.
I love it. I love it. So I want everybody to make sure you did not miss that. The power of one has changed my life. It can be so easy to look at your long to-do list and you feel so overwhelmed. And I started to break it down into quarters.
Yeah.
So maybe first quarter, I'm focusing on something. Second quarter, it allows me a solid 90 days to really spend my time and energy on something so that I'm not trying to do everything at once, right? And I think that can be really a key if someone is trying to figure out, like, how to have it all or how to balance it.
Right.
Now, I want you to talk to the moms out there, right? The wives out there. The overwhelmed students, right? The people that are trying to balance having a corporate job and their side hustle, right? And they're just feeling so overwhelmed, right? That they're feeling anxious.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of people struggling to even sleep at night because they have so much going on. So when you think about a system, a structure, a process that can help people to really break down their lives so that they can find fulfillment and joy at the end of the day, what would you say are some strategies or tips that can really help people with that?
Identify what the problem is. Most times things are a problem because we don't know. Right? And it's hard to solve a problem if you can't define it. So you know this because we work together, right? We have this process during our meetings where we IDS. One, we identify what the problem is. We discuss at length to make sure everybody's clear and everybody understands what the problem is. And then only after we've identified it, only after we've discussed it, then we move to solution, right? So it's just like, one, call that thing out that you're struggling with. Like, can you define it? Right? And then once you can define it, you need to come up with solutions. But we don't do that in isolation, right? So who are your influences? Like, who are the people that are around you? Like, who are you taking advice from? Like, who's in your ear, basically, right? Because that will help you once you're able to, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. Talk to people, talk to the right people, right? Make sure you got the right people around you, and then come up with solutions, and then you just start working to remedy some of those problems that you're having.
And what do you think is the best way for people to do that? Whether that looks like a journal, does that look like working with a coach or a mentor or support? Or do you think they should just do that by themselves?
I mean, all of those are options, and I'm not a believer in one size fits all, right? So it's just like, I'm gonna give you the recipe. But if you're lactose intolerant, don't use milk. You know what I mean? Like, don't use almond milk or use coconut milk. Like, you have to figure out what works for you, right? Because this is just to plant the seed, but take from it what works for you. Like, you have to create your own system. Like, what works for me might not necessarily work for you, but I think you can still take, what does work for you and apply that to your situation.
And how often do you feel like people should even evaluate what's working? So, we like to say, new year, new me. We get all excited. We 3 months in a year, we done forgot all about those promises, okay, that we made to ourselves. So how soon or how often should we be checking in on ourselves to see, okay, this is working, this isn't working, I should try this out, I should try that out? And then as you're exploring that, what kind of support is available to do that?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll use my weight loss journey as an example. So with James, it's every week.
Okay.
Right? So I'm checking in every Monday. Every Monday I have to send him a screenshot of my numbers, right? If I think about work, it's quarterly. Right? So every quarterly we're checking our numbers. We're looking at our KPIs, right? So finding a rhythm that makes the most sense, like, given the situation.
No, that is so good because the way in which you defined it does make a lot of sense. There are times, especially in business, quarterly usually is good for those type of goals. But weekly accountability, like the clients that I have, like as a life coach, that I see every week, they make the most progress, right? But the ones that, once a month, can I afford this? And it's like, I try to tell people, it's not, can you afford something? Can you afford to not
It's good.
continue to keep showing up, not pour into yourself? Because a lot of times it's just for a season that you need somebody who can really lock in and keep you accountable. At some point, you will develop those skill sets to keep yourself accountable.
That's it.
But when you're in that season of change, that season of transition, it's vital to have that support. We actually read a book together called The Shift that was all about transitioning and shifting. You're in quite the shift of your life.
I am.
Hopefully we'll be able to pull some video clip to share with the people. But at the Next Level Speakers Conference, there was a very intimate but public moment that happened when your husband affirmed you on stage in front of 1,000 people. Yeah. People are still talking about that. Wow. And from my viewers and my listeners that haven't had a chance to see this or experience this, when you see a husband affirm his wife publicly, pouring into her, loving her, encouraging her, a lot of times people don't even get those type of texts from their significant other. Yeah. So take us back to kind of like, one, maybe even how that felt being, because you know, she being dynamic here, y'all, but she could be a little bit quiet and low key in the background, because you know we're talking about systems, right? So you know, a lot of people in systems and operation are behind the scenes people, and she's stepping out of her comfort zone. Sure. And you're in this season of transition. So how did that feel to be publicly, you know, brought to the stage, and him speaking those words of affirmation and forecasting some of the things in your life that we know are going to come to pass?
Crumpler and I have been together over 20 years, right? So I think that context is important, because he has seen all the different stages, all the different versions of me. Like, he's been with me on the journey, so he's been able to see the growth, right? Because he knows that there was a time in my life where, don't call me up on stage, like, and just, that's not too distant, you know. That's not like a distant past. Like, you've been at masterminds where, and so has Du. Shout out to Du.
Yeah, shout out to Du.
Where if somebody told me he was going to call me on stage, I would find a reason to leave the room.
Yeah, I've been like, I've looked for her many times.
Dude, like, you know, Jess, I would leave. Like, I would find a reason to just not be there, because I did not want to be the focus of people's attention, right? And so fast forward to the conference that you're talking about, there's a lot that has happened in these past 3 to 5 years. I was telling you before we started, like, you know, when I was on the island and during my professional career.
Tell them the island.
Yeah. Shout out to Bermuda.
You know, I'm
Bermuda onion in the house. But yeah, like there's during my professional career, that there's 15 years, a lot of my development was professional. Yeah. It was professional development. I would say my focus these past 3 to 5 has been personal, right? Yeah. And that personal growth is literally been the best decision that I've made. Wow. Honestly, like, I mean that with my whole heart, because, you know, you talked about the process, the healing that has to happen. It started with focusing on me, like just getting clear on who I am and my mindset. Yeah. Sometimes when people ask you, hey, what is it that you do? Like, what's the system that you use when you're just going through life? Yeah. You don't really think about it, Jess. Like, it's hard to even name it, right? Yeah. So it's good to have conversations with you and to get people to really pull it out of you, because I had to think about it. I was like, I don't really know, you know, what it is that I'm doing, because I'm just doing me, right? Like, I'm just being myself. And when I had to kind of define a framework, what we came up with was a map. Okay. Right? Like, what I follow is my map, right? And the am being my mindset. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, being the perspective, the lens that I see everything through, just getting comfortable fully with me. You know what I mean? And just like my uniqueness and my authenticity, and loving who I am and being comfortable, because I think part of the fear was me just not really being okay with me. Yeah. You know? So like the personal development got me in love with me. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then I realized that the focus was really about other people. So I used to suffer from perfectionism. Mm-hmm. Right.
Me too.
Yeah.
Recovering.
And perfectionism is dangerous.
It is dangerous.
Right. Because it's an unrealistic expectation. It's fearful. I think it's rooted in fear. You know, like, you're so concerned about what other people are going to think, or, you know, which is another reason why I didn't want to be in the spotlight, because then it's like all eyes on me, right? Yeah. But now it's just like, man, it's not about me. It's about them. So when I shift my focus to other people, I'm not afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of, because it's not about me anymore, right? So now the feeling is, I'm excited. Like, I want to be on stage. Like, I want to help, because it's not about being on stage. Yeah. It's the opportunity that being on stage gives me, right? Absolutely. Like, the stage is just a catalyst for me to pour, for me to help, for me to add value. So to be on that stage with Chris, not knowing what he was going to say, right? But just being fully comfortable being there. One, because again, the moment wasn't about me. I'm just here standing here supporting my husband. So the fact that he started doing the affirmations caught me completely off guard, right? So I'm just like, what is happening? Right? First, I'm just like, oh my God, like, what is happening? What is he doing? And then when I realized, and I'm just like, whew, you know what I mean? Like, overwhelmed at just, wow, God, like, look what you're doing. You know what I mean? Look what you are preparing for me. You know, thank you for using him, you know, to be the vessel to whisper your promises to me, to kind of set the stage in front of all of these people for what's to come. So just it's one of those moments that you just never forget.
Me as well, as someone who was able to witness it. I'm like, this was an unforgettable moment. A couple things you said that was so good. One, you know, I encourage everybody who is watching or listening to embark on your self-love journey. Like, you have to love who you are at the end of the day. Sometimes we're looking for that validation and that love in our significant other, and our children, and our coworkers, and our managers, and then that leads us to disappointment. So you got to love yourself first. And then also, like, affirmations are vital, right? I think it's important to have self-affirmations, like you to affirm yourself. But that was one of the reasons I created audio affirmations, because I needed to hear, at a time I was working a job that no longer fulfilled me, I needed to hear every day that I was amazing, that I was going to have a great day, that good things are going to happen to me. So if you need that encouragement, check the show notes for a link to the audio affirmations, because I've had thousands of people all around the world start their day by listening to that. And it's literally like having me as your cheerleader to encourage you and support you. So I really believe in the power of affirmations. And you got to have somebody speaking into you, and then you also speaking into yourself.
Absolutely. Who doesn't want to be seen, valued, loved, Jess? Everybody wants that. Everybody wants that.
Everybody. So speak briefly to the wife that just heard that. And she's in such a struggling place in her marriage. That she heard that, and it kind of was like, that could never happen to me. And so you said you've been married 20 years.
20,
So when you think about maybe Crumpler a couple years before, you're like, I don't know how that could have been us.
Right.
Talk to her that's feeling like, I don't know if this could ever happen for me, or how could my marriage even look better?
Oh, for sure. So don't get it twisted. Like that 20 years has not been glitter and rainbows. Right? Like, that 20 years has been work. So I have been that wife that felt like, no, I cannot do this. I don't want to do this anymore. You know, there was a season that was dark for me, right? Nothing but my faith just pulled me out of that. And here's the thing, you heard me kind of allude to it earlier. I was like, God, this can't be the plan that you have for me. Like, this is not a good plan. You promised me a good plan. Like, this is the plan that you have for me. This is not good. I'm lonely. I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. This is not what I thought it was going to be. You know, the movies, they be lying. You know,
they be lying. Come on.
They be setting you up.
Lifetime and Netflix.
It's not like that.
Give us the real.
That's it, Jess. But this is what I heard. He said, Nick, I never promised you that it was going to be easy. Right? I never promised you glitters and rainbows. Actually, I actually told you would suffer. Right?
That long suffering that we kind of like try to gloss over. You know what I mean?
Like, I told you I would suffer, but here's what else I told you. I also told you that I would be there with you. Right? That I won't leave you. And I'm not going to forsake you, because if you continue to trust me, I'm going to show you that you're stronger than you think. I'm going to show you that you can get through more than you realize. Right? But as long as you stay with me, I'm going to blow your mind. And with everything that I had in me, Jess, and even when I felt like I couldn't, I still just walk with God. Because I had given up. I was cold. I was lonely. I just didn't think, you know, we could come back from some of the things that we had been through. But God is faithful. Hear me good. God is faithful. How you're feeling is very real. Right? You tell me, speak to the person, like, your feelings are very real. I have felt that. But be encouraged, because there is nothing too hard for God.
Yeah.
Right. And I think having the right people around you is important. You know, you need people that are going to pray you through, Jess, because you don't feel like it anymore. I'm not doing the work. At that point, I didn't want to pray. I didn't want to go to anybody's conference. I didn't want anybody, like, you couldn't tell me anything. And I promise you, if I didn't have my faith, Jess, I think my story would look a lot different.
It's very real. Very real.
I promise you that.
Yeah.
Like that third cord, that Holy Spirit, that is the tie that binds.
Yeah.
You know, yes, it's me, Crump, but it's the Holy Spirit, and that is the only thing that got me through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good and so real. So stay encouraged. Listen, I'm 10 years in, so she got a 10 on me, right? But I done learned already. Like, there are days that are amazing. There are days that are challenging. There are days that are struggling. But know that you don't have to do this thing called marriage alone. Listen, we got marriage coaches.
Yes.
We got marriage therapists. We got spiritual counselors. We got wisdom. We have surrounded ourselves by a wise counsel.
That's it.
Okay?
Yeah.
We got friends that are married. You know what I'm saying? Like, we surrounded ourselves on purpose.
Yep.
And that's not easy trying to find solid married people. Okay? Yeah. But it's worth the investigation.
Absolutely.
It's worth the prayer. Yep. It's worth, like, desiring to be around people that get it. Because when you see some happy people, I was telling CJ the other day, I was telling him, I said, listen, I didn't know marriage bliss on the Secret to Success podcast. They were saying marriage bliss was the goal. I said, I didn't even realize that there was a goal, because you see some people just struggling trying to make it. And I was like, okay, this is the goal. This is the standard. This is what we about to hit, okay?
Right.
So we have an amazing segment on here called The Healing Moment. Okay. And so it is for you to give, and I'm going to give it to you to give this time. It's a gift back to our audience so that they can know what to do next, right? I don't want them just to be inspired and encouraged. I want them to do an action item as a result of something you said. So when you think about either a system or structure, a process, a tool, a strategy, that if they implement it today, it could really enhance their whole healing journey.
Something to enhance your healing journey. I'm going to go back to where I started, getting to know yourself, right? Get to know yourself, get to love yourself, and then get to work. Yeah. Right? I shared a post the other day that talks about, like, when we move, God moves, right? Like, God moves through you. And there's so much that is only revealed to us once we start doing the work. So what does that look like for you? Get to know who you are. Like, you want one thing, like, spend some time getting to know you. Spend some time with yourself, whether that's, you know, self-care. You talked about that. Maybe it's quiet time. So me, for example, I have focus time on my calendar. So every day from 8 to 10, I can show you my calendar right now. It's focus time. Yeah. Right. So during that time, I take some time to spend time with me. Yeah. Right. So whether it's reading, sometimes I'm reading a book, sometimes I'm in prayer, sometimes I'm just quiet. Yeah. But it's time where I can just dedicate focusing on being my best self. Yeah. Right. So for you, focus on being your best self. There's going to be so much that comes out of that, right? So get to know you, get to love you, and then get to work.
Ooh, this is so good. I told y'all was in for a treat. We delivered. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing your heart, for giving us more than we could have asked for, right? This was so good. So thank you guys again for tuning in to the Finally Healed with Jessica London podcast. If you have enjoyed yourself, which I know you have, I need you to leave a 5-star review on wherever you are watching this. I need you to subscribe to the podcast and tell a friend. Don't be selfish with good quality information. And if you do your healing exercise, tag us on social media at Finally Healed Pod. I will see you next time. Bye.